a Sunday thought, trustingly to inspire you to think about something maybe outside of the box, a little bit different. Yesterday, I held for a small group of people, what we call a channeling session. Now, people found out about that through my newsletter that I send out once a month, and I usually have some special or something there that they may want or participate in. Channeling was something that I didn't do a lot of. It wasn't something that was very high on my list to learn about or understand. And that is basically when I put my consciousness aside and a person's what we call a guide, or you could call it your personal teacher, whatever, to come in and speak and use my voice, use my use my voice, my essence. But I really have no idea. The words are just coming out. Someone said to me, "Oh, do you hear them?" etc. And the thing is, no, I don't. They kind of are there and they speak. And I am sort of like back watching and seeing what they're talking about, what they're saying. What it does for each person who has this happen, and some people are incredibly good at it and have long sessions with people. I do not. That's why I like dealing with groups. But anyway, what happens is that they often will pinpoint the difficulties in a person's life. And because they have a different perspective and they are able to give information for they can help them understand. I've always found I have come to learn and understand a great many things by being the channel, by having people say what another person needs to hear. And it was no different yesterday. Many things were said, and sometimes actually they referred for me to go give some practical advice, because that's what I do, is deal in practicalities and aid and help people deal with the complications in their lives, straighten them out, sort them out, based on metaphysical philosophy, based on just praying, practicality, and living a long time and learning some things work and some things doesn't. But the thought that I had from this was, where do you go to get your inspiration? Where do you go to get inspired when you're feeling kind of like you're at a dead end and not really sure where you are and what's happening and what's going on? Where do you go? Do you have a book? Like a lot of people go to the Bible, or they go to other great books where people have written philosophies or understandings. Where do you go? What do you use as a base to help you inspire, to help you understand, to help you see beyond what is right there? Because very often what happens when life comes along and it creates a hassle, you might say, a situation we don't know where to go. Where do we go to get inspiration to help us deal, cope, or handle a situation? The worst thing is to feel absolutely helpless and unsure and move into depression and be absolutely jammed full so there's no movement. So where do we go to get that inspiration? I've been a student of metaphysics for many, many, many years, and it always helped me understand when I hit, you might say, blocks, situations, things that I didn't like, or I got emotionally upset. Because when we get emotionally upset, it means we lose our reason. We don't have a reason. We just react. And we're going to do that at times, and that's okay. But what happens, excuse me, when we want to come out of that? When we want to come out of that being sad or being upset or can't see the wood, the old saying was that I grew up was, you can't see the wood for the trees, because it's like you're in the middle of a forest. Which way is the way out? I have no idea. So, and it happens because, we are emotional. We have feelings. We get stuck. We can't see the end, like the crossing the line. We can't see where this is going to end, or even how to end it. When a person doesn't have anything to fall back on, when a person doesn't have a philosophy or a belief system, or even the awareness that there is a power greater than themselves there to support them, to aid them, to give them clarity in any situation, where do you go? Do you just stay feeling miserable? Do you just stay depressed? Do you stay? And I think anybody who has lived has gone through certain levels of depression at times. I know I did way back when I was trying to figure it all out, and just sort of sad, it's like things weren't working the way I wanted. And I didn't quite know sometimes which way to go, which way to turn. But I always had a belief system that there was something more. I always was searching for answers, trying to put things together. Now, I was lucky. Very early, I ran into the philosophy that I was taught through the tarot, and people who have listened to my talks on that know that it was a whole different way of looking at the tarot. And I have loved it and enjoyed it for all these many, many years. And if I get really stuck, that's where, for me, I would go to, it's like it's 78 pages, and it's an unbound book of wisdom. So it's how those pages come together, the stories unfold. I still enjoy it immensely, helping other people with it, for sure, being able to see, being able to understand the process of life. Because there's a saying, if I can remember it rightly, there are many rooms in the mansion. Like there's many different ways we can look at things. And excuse me, I just have to have a sip of water. So I want you to think about, where do you go to be inspired? If you live near the sea in particular, or any group of water like a lake. I live by a lake now, but I've lived by the sea most of my life. And it's like, it's very calming, and it has a rhythmic effect of that water coming in and out. Lakes are a little more placid. It has a different tone to it. But do you go to there, or do you go to the forest? My son goes to the forest. He goes to the big trees and finds his strength, his inspiration there. People find it in different ways, and there's nothing that it's right or wrong. It is what it is. What inspires you? What gives you strength? What gives you clarity? What brings everything down to the basic level that you're alive and that you have the strength and the capacity to handle and deal with whatever comes up? We all face obstacles. We all face challenges, because how else can we strengthen ourselves and know the depth of who we are if we don't rub against something that is perhaps a little more, you might say, bigger than what we are? Seems likely that's what a lot of my path has been in the last year and a bit. Anyway, it's how things occur, how you handle them. I used to say it's not the event that's important, it's how you handle the event. Sometimes we don't handle events well. Sometimes we overreact. Sometimes we blame others as their fault. Can't be ours. It wouldn't be ours. Nothing to do with us. There's many ways we can handle things that we don't want to deal with. But the reality is, if it's in front of us, we need to be able to handle, deal, cope, and make decisions about it. And very often that means we need to get inspiration. So that's what I want you to think about. That's the thought for today. Where do you go to get inspiration and clarity? Very often in our minds get so busy, it's like it becomes a knot where it's trying to unfold things, as it's trying to sort things out. So where do you go? Do you have a particular book? Do you have a group? I know there's some books that have magnificent poems in them, and people can read those, and it just seems like clarity is right there. Or do you have something like we did yesterday, where a guide for each person, a different guide speaking in a different way and a whole different element, giving a perspective for them to think about? And perhaps drawing attention to aspects of their lives that they had sort of put back on the back shelf because they didn't want to look at that. All of these things are very, very important when you're growing, when you're wanting to understand life, when you're wanting to move out of you might say, an aspect you just need clarity for. Where do we go to get that clarity? Now, some people are easily just go inside, ask inside, and they get the answer right away. Many others don't. They don't know where to go. They don't know how to listen. They don't know how to move that inspiration into their lives so that they can move as. Now, I grew up in a horse racing country. So we would go to see horse races quite often, and they had what they call hurdles. We don't see too many of those these days. Here, I don't see too many of those. I still like to watch a good horse race, but anyway, the hurdle ones are interesting. Now, the Grand National, I think it's in England or Ireland, I can't remember, but they have huge, big fences, and it's a very big race. And some terrible catastrophes happen when horses don't make those big hurdles. But anyway, a regular hurdle, they gallop along, and then they have to jump over these hurdles. And sometimes they fall down. Sometimes the horses fall down, and that's life. That's what life is. You go along, and so all of a sudden you have a hurdle, and sometimes you don't make it. It's like, oh my goodness, it's bigger than me, or it's too high, or it's this or that, and you feel overwhelmed by what it all is. So where do you go to get the inspiration and the strength to come back and jump over that hurdle, so that that hurdle is taken care of, and you go on to the next hurdle? Not everybody, and I have to clarify something here. Sometimes when we look at people's lives and patterns, there's long stretches where everything seems to go very smoothly. And then there's a rough patch where there's a lot of hurdles to get over. Situations come up. And that is where you might say a little bit like a test time of your fortitude, your awareness, your strength, and what is it that inspires you? What is it that says you can go ahead and do this and come into the completeness of that? What is it? Where is it? Because that's the important thing. The easy part is easy. It is when you hit the challenges and you get the inspiration. And like yesterday, I was amazed because it's not my information that's coming through. I'm just the channel. Is listening to some of the information that was given. And it's like I tuck it away in my mind. Oh, I'm going to hang on to that one. That's a good one. But it's like there's so much you can come to learn and understand, whether you're reading an in-depth book, whether you're going to some inspirational book or a video or whatever that inspires you to be more, that inspires you to deal, cope, and handle with all the different aspects of your life. And so I think I'm running out of things to say, but anyway, because I don't write these out. I just open my mouth and, as always, just allow things to flow and see where it takes me. But before I finish, I just want to thank Lisa Marie for making her comment this morning, and Maggie G. Always good to see you here. And in the meantime, think about that. Where do you get your inspiration? Thank you for your likes. Thank you for your subscriptions. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being out there while I sit here. Thank you. So have a great week. See you tomorrow night at Mental Mind Treatments. Bye now.